Learn how to speak with a British accent with these 5 tips. I want to go through some inside tips to help you achieve a more authentic RP British accent. Before we dive in, you'll notice I compare the American US accent with received pronunciation in some of these sections. This is because I know some of you whose native language is not English, and you are or have learned English in your own country, may well have been taught US English rather than the British English that I focus on. So I hope you find it helpful that these differences are highlighted. Now, I do appreciate that many of you may have different linguistic backgrounds, so these differences are really obvious to you. But anyway, let's continue. I'll share examples of how to implement each tip and explain why it's important. With practice, these secrets can really take your British pronunciation to the next level, whether you're a native or non-native speaker. Tip 1. Use British vocabulary. If you use American words like trash, sidewalk or cookie instead of the British versions rubbish, pavement and biscuit, you'll still sound American even if you nail the pronunciation. It's important to avoid American vocabulary words and use the British equivalent, although it's worth noting that many American words are finding their way into our language and our culture more and more. So, for example, rather than saying you're riding in an elevator to your apartment, why not say you're taking the lift up to your flat instead? And you don't stand in line for the movies, you queue up at the cinema. You see what I mean? Swap out the vocabulary and it will start to bring your whole accent together. I'd recommend looking up British versions of the most common American words, and I will be covering some of these in a later date. Make flashcards to practice them daily and pay attention to vocabulary when consuming British media. This tip can work magic. Tip 2. Don't forget your T's. Pronouncing T sounds clearly is so important for sounding convincingly British. Americans often replace T's with D sounds, like saying city instead of city. Start by practicing words beginning with the T sound, like team, time, tongue. Feel your tongue tap the roof of your mouth sharply for that crisp sound. Now try pronouncing the T's between vowels. This is really important. For example, in the word button, keep the T nice and clear. In button, the T falls between the U vowel and the O vowel. Now make sure it doesn't get lost. Don't let it slip into button. Listen to British speakers and imitate how they enunciate their T's. Now, you could use a glottal T to sound more native, but this takes a lot of practice. A glottal T involves tensing your throat really tight and cutting the sound out. But let's not get confused with this. Don't run before you can walk. Work on your clear T's first. Remember, the T sound can be between 2 vowels of 2 different words. For example, get it, where the Americans might use a D sound, get it, we hear the T, get it, get it, get it. Tip 3. Know when R becomes a vowel. When the R appears at the beginning of a word like rot, rag, red, rid, and there's a vowel sound after, we pronounce it as r, rot, rag, red, rid. In British English, the R sound is often replaced with a vowel. This happens whenever a consonant follows the R in a word. So, for example, in the word work, the R becomes a sound. Work, work, work. Other examples are course, and party. It's really important to learn the main British vowel sounds that replace R, like or R. Recognising when this vowel substitution occurs will hugely boost your accent. And listen for it in words ending in too. Tip number 4. Master the schwa. If you want to take your British pronunciation to the next level, you need to master the schwa. This ubiquitous vowel sound appears in about 30 to 40% of spoken British English. The schwa is the natural, relaxed sounds in words like button, Canada. Whenever you see the spelling E, it will be likely to be a schwa, like in person or teacher. Practice the schwa by reading paragraphs out loud and focusing on keeping the sound relaxed. You'll find it in all kinds of words in unpredictable places. Train your ear by noticing schwas when listening to British speakers. Tip number 5. Learn your vowels and diphthongs. British English makes use of some unique vowel and diphthong sounds. For example, the short O vowel in words like hot and dog is very rounded, with the lips pushed out, whereas Americans will use a more open R sound. So we say hot and they say heart. We say dog and they say dog. Work on pronouncing this shorter and try and incorporate it into words. Other key sounds are the ear diphthong in words like beer and the long A sound in bath. Ow diphthong is one I think sounds particularly British. How now, brown cow. Really listen to these telltale sounds in words and practice them. Your vowels are the bedrock to your accent. Now, I've got videos showing you how to pronounce all these different sounds correctly. Each video will guide you how to place your tongue, lips and mouth to produce these RP British accent sounds. And if you want them, they're available as part of the British Accent Bundle training package, which you can get at learningbritishaccent.com/bundle. So there you have 5 insider tips for taking your British accent to the next level. Focus on swapping vocabulary, pronouncing your T's correctly, knowing when R becomes a vowel, mastering the schwa, and training your vowel sounds. Consistency is key with accent work. Try incorporating these tips into your daily speech and keep expanding your knowledge. There are always more secrets to learn. Feel free to ask me any questions. Happy practicing.